Fast X, the 10th installment in the Fast and Furious franchise, just debuted in theaters a while ago and begins what will be a trilogy to end off the series for good. So what did I think of it? Well, before I say anything else, let me make known that this will be a spoiler review, so if you haven't seen the movie, maybe go and watch it first and then come back. Or don't, because let's be honest here, nobody comes to watch these movies for the plot. It's not like they really care anymore. Also, wanted to say that this video is just going to be my opinions, so if you enjoyed the movie, that's completely fine. Let me know in the comments why you did. Finally, if you liked the video, then please make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing for more awesome content. Okay, so to start off, Fast X is just a lazy movie. It's not good by any stretch, and I know a lot of people are going to say ghost toast. It's not supposed to be good. It's just supposed to be dumb fun. And to that I say, I'm not going to excuse the glaring and lazy flaws in this film just on the basis of it being dumb fun. Fast 5 was ridiculously dumb fun, so was Furious 7. But those movies were still good and well made. So the excuse of it's only supposed to be dumb fun ain't gonna cut it for me, okay? But before I get into my criticisms for this film, I will give some props to this movie. The action choreography was clean and helped to create cool, spectacular action sequences that made good use of their setting. Additionally, the film is shot really well, and the cinematography does an excellent job of creating a sense of magnitude and scale to this film and the events taking place in it, while also incorporating some really interesting and nice use of a free-floating camera in some scenes. Jason Momoa is extremely over the top in his role as Dante, but it works in the sense that he is highly entertaining and stands out in every scene that he is in, so he did a good job. And that's pretty much as far as the positives go for this movie. I wasn't really too impressed with most aspects of Fast X, and I attribute a lot of that to laziness on the part of the production team. Now, I'm not saying that everything in this production was lazily done, but there are definitely a few glaring examples that appear if you're looking for them. Maybe the most obvious one is the weak acting in this movie. Almost the entire cast feels empty, like the Flying Dutchman stole their souls or something. The delivery of the dialogue is so flat and emotionless, or like attempting to emulate emotion while very clearly not trying, and I think that's just because most of the actors are just done with this franchise. There are 11 movies in the Fast and Furious series, if you include the Hobbs and Shaw spin-off, so it's really no surprise that some of these actors seem to be phoning it in for a paycheck, namely Ludacris as Tej, Tyrese Gibson as Roman, and Sung Kang as Han. To be fair, their characters take on even more of an essentially useless, unimportant, and practically uninteresting role in this movie than in previous installments, but the actors still gave lackluster performances that were pretty noticeable, at least for me. Aside from the lazy acting, the CGI in this movie ranged from okay to literally on par with She-Hulk or worse in some parts, and I attribute that also to laziness. Particularly, I'm speaking of the scene where Tess and Ames are talking to each other inside of this dark room with a bunch of screens. Like, oh my goodness, Squidward. The CGI in that scene in particular was just absolutely horrible. I felt like I was watching one of those military ads or some sort of commercial or something, and this was still like worse than that. There is no excuse other than laziness for why the CGI in a movie that had a budget of $340 million would look this pathetic. But perhaps the most egregious example of just plain laziness was in the scene where Dom goes into the old police station in Brazil from Fast 5, and Jason Momoa's Dante has the whole room set up like he's some kind of James Bond villain with all of these different screens with pictures or videos of Dom's family and friends. Not only does this sequence make no sense practically, but pretty much all of the pictures or videos on the screens are literally direct shots from the previous movies or picture stills from the previous movies. Most of these scenes don't even make sense for how Dante would have collected that footage. Like, it's all moments that realistically, in the world of the movie, no one would have been filming. Yet, somehow Dante has all of these literal movie shots from the previous films. So like, what's up with that, dude? You're telling me that a movie with a $340 million million budget. Couldn't just do clever shots where they recreated some of those scenes and filmed it from a different angle that would have made more sense for someone who was spying on Dom and his crew, instead of literally just ripping footage from the previous films? They literally recreated the bank heist scene from Fast 5 to make Dante's presence in that scene look more realistic. So why didn't they just recreate these other scenes as well? That's just like so lazy and screams I don't care and lack of effort. And it was things like this that made me not enjoy this movie as much as I really wanted to. There are also some big flaws with this movie's story and characters, and again, laziness seems to be the issue. Since we all know it and just accept it at this point, allow me to briefly address the elephant in the room. This movie just does not make any sense. The practicality of a mentally deranged Brazilian man almost single-handedly tracking down a borderline untraceable hacker, then taking over an entire team, cars flying through the air and crashing into things or falling from great heights, and the drivers just being completely unscathed and the cars being completely drivable, hacking or computer skills just being a superpower now that can literally do anything the story needs it to do, from making bombs explode less to bedside arm bracelets in the medical bay being able to be overwritten in literally 1 second, and spraying sleeping gas into an entire facility, to bank accounts just being hacked into and having their monetary funds transferred over to random assassins on rentamercenary.com. To say that this film is dumb would be a massive understatement. But look, everyone already knows what we're in for with this franchise, so I'll willingly overlook most of that illogical mess. What I can't overlook, however, is the awful, lazy structuring of the story. The movie doesn't properly set up or pay off anything, and it makes for an extremely forgettable and less rewarding experience. For example, Ames turns out to be working for Dante the entire time. But since the movie has never given us a reason to care about his character, or even really established a personality for him outside of just being the mean tough guy who wants to get Dom, this reveal of him being a twist villain just feels empty and out of nowhere. Or how Dante just randomly hacks the group's bank account to hire all of these faceless, nameless assassin guys who we have no idea about nor have any clue how dangerous they are, because the movie was too lazy to set up its climactical threat properly. Or how Roman and Tej have some seemingly random and nonsensical beef that they resolve 5 minutes later just to give that side plot something other than Han, Roman, Tej, and Ramsey roaming around and practically doing nothing for the entire movie. Like, seriously, this movie wastes the potential of the rest of the group besides Dom and Letty. Remember the days when each member of the group actually played an important and unique role for the team that made each one valuable in a different way? Yeah, why do that when we can just have half the team do practically nothing but go around from place to place and add almost nothing of significant value to the movie? And you may be saying, but Ghost Toast, they killed off the group at the end of the movie. Aren't their deaths significant to the story? But come on, bro. When have the main characters actually ever died in this franchise? Believing that someone actually died in this movie is like believing that a politician is actually going to do all the things they said they would do during their election campaign. It's not gonna happen. Han, Tej, Roman, and Ramsey are fine. We all know that they somehow escaped that plane crash and are gonna show up in the next movie. Just like Giselle apparently didn't even die in Furious 6. Can't wait to see how they try to explain that one in the next movie. Maybe hearing Mr. Nobody had a way of making things look real would perfectly explain it all. Regardless though, there's such a thing as too much, and the absurd amount of times that characters have come back to life in this franchise just devalues any apparent death, because we all know that they aren't actually going to go through with it. Scenes where characters die don't feel emotional or impactful because those characters always just end up coming back, usually explained away with some lazy, half-baked explanation. The fleeting way that they have treated death throughout this franchise and in this movie has definitely decreased the amount of tension that these films have significantly. And if there's not that much tension, then there's not much for the audience to remember or care about. Honestly, when I look at it, Fast X just appears to be a lazy film. And I think it gets away with doing that because most of its audience seems content with its more superficial elements, like, ooh, fast car go zoom, instead of caring why that fast car went zoom and why that should be compelling and not just empty entertainment. I plan on doing a more detailed review of this movie where I break down the goofiness and stupidity of it. So if that's something you are interested in, then make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell for notifications so that you can catch that video when it comes out. Also, I'm trying to reach 10,000 subs by the end of the year, so I would really appreciate it if you subscribed and turned on that bell. If you like this review, then please leave a like and consider checking out some of my other movie review videos, because you would probably like them as well. If you enjoyed this film or have your own criticisms or takes on it, then be sure to let me know why in the comments, and I'll catch you all on the next one. Have a great day.